Listen carefully because this might sting and it might save you. If everyone has access to you, then no one truly values you, and the truth is you've been taught to be liked more than you've been taught to be respected. You confuse showing up with standing tall. You think being constantly available will keep you relevant, but in reality, it's draining you of the very thing that makes you irreplaceable, your value. Let me ask you this, who are you when you're not being needed? If your identity depends on your availability, then you've become a servant to demand rather than a steward of purpose. This is why you feel exhausted, empty, even resentful, because your availability is a currency you keep spending on people who never pay it back in respect. And you wonder why your presence doesn't carry weight. It's not because you're not enough, it's because you're too accessible. You need to understand something sacred. Value is not loud. Value is not desperate. Value is not constantly present. Value is intentional. It moves with clarity. It knows when to speak and when to walk away. You don't gain influence by being everywhere. You gain influence by being needed, but not needy. Emotional confidence is knowing your yes is a gift and your no is a boundary. You don't owe your time to everyone, you owe your time to your calling, to what builds you, to what aligns with your spirit, not your survival. Because here's what no one tells you, when you stop being accessible to everything, you become magnetic to the right things. People respect what they must earn. They respect what challenges them. They respect what is consistent but not cheap. When you're emotionally grounded, you don't need to prove anything. Your energy shifts from performance to power. You stop reacting and start choosing. Stop showing up to be liked. Start showing up to be remembered. That's what value is. It's not about being everywhere. It's about being exactly where you're meant to be, with your feet planted in purpose and your eyes fixed on vision. Not every call is your assignment. Not every invitation deserves your yes. You are not here to be available to the world. You are here to transform it. Being constantly available weakens your perceived value because it conditions others to treat your presence as ordinary, not extraordinary. When you're always accessible, always answering, always showing up at the drop of a hat, you teach people that your time, your energy, and your essence come without cost. And what comes without cost is rarely honored. People start to expect you instead of appreciating you. They begin to lean on your reliability while overlooking your rarity. This isn't about playing games, it's about preserving your dignity. There is a sacredness to your availability. You must protect it. If every time someone calls, you answer immediately, what you're really saying is, my needs are secondary, my time is yours. That isn't loyalty, that's self-abandonment masked as helpfulness. And over time, it breeds resentment inside you and entitlement in others. Your presence should be a privilege, not a guarantee. The moment it becomes guaranteed, it starts losing weight. Value isn't proven by proximity, it's established by boundaries. It's reinforced through selective presence. People pay more attention when they don't always have access. They listen more carefully. They choose their words more thoughtfully. Why? Because scarcity creates significance. You don't need to be unreachable, you just need to be intentional. When you step back, when you take space, when you pause before responding, you allow your presence to recalibrate. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. It's emotional intelligence. It's strategic wisdom. It's knowing that just because you can show up doesn't mean you always should. When your availability is always assumed, your value is quietly diminished. But when it's earned, when it's respected, when it's protected, your presence becomes powerful. It becomes meaningful. It becomes unforgettable. True value comes from alignment with purpose, not people-pleasing. Too many spend their lives trying to earn approval, fit in, be accepted, and be liked, believing that if enough people validate them, they will finally feel worthy. But worth is not assigned by applause, it's revealed through alignment. When you live to please others, you abandon your own calling in exchange for comfort. And comfort is not purpose, it's permission to stay small. People-pleasing is a survival mechanism rooted in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood. But every time you bend your truth to make someone else more comfortable, you shrink your own soul. When you are aligned with purpose, your actions become intentional, not reactive. You speak from conviction, not from insecurity. You move with vision, not from the need for validation. People-pleasing will have you saying yes to what your spirit is screaming no to. It will have you performing instead of living. It will have you drained, smiling, and dying on the inside because you've been trained to believe your value depends on being agreeable rather than authentic. But purpose doesn't ask you to be liked, it asks you to be true. It demands courage. It requires you to stand when others sit, to speak when others stay silent, to walk away when others conform. When you're rooted in purpose, you no longer feel guilty for setting boundaries. You stop explaining yourself. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for wanting more, needing more, being more. Your value increases the moment you align with what you were born to do, not with what others expect you to be. The world doesn't need another version of who they want you to become. The world needs the boldest version of who you already are. Emotionally confident people don't over-explain their boundaries, they live them. They understand that their worth isn't up for debate and that their decisions don't require approval from others to be valid. When you're rooted in emotional confidence, your no is complete, your silence is intentional, your limits are communicated not with long justifications but with consistency. You don't owe anyone a 10-minute explanation just to honor your peace. You don't have to defend your choices when you've made them from a place of clarity and conviction. Overexplaining is often a symptom of guilt or fear. It comes from a place of hoping people will still like you if you give them enough reasons. But the moment you feel the need to convince others of your boundaries, you've already started negotiating with your own values. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors you choose to open or close based on purpose, not pressure. And emotional confidence is the key that locks the door when needed. People who struggle to accept your boundaries often benefited the most from your lack of them. And when you start reinforcing them, their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your emotional health is not up for compromise. When you walk in emotional confidence, you give yourself permission to choose discomfort over disrespect. You no longer perform for approval, you no longer beg for understanding, you lead with quiet certainty, not loud desperation. Living your boundaries is not just about what you say, it's about what you do consistently. It's in the calls you don't return immediately. It's in the space you create without explanation. It's in the standards you hold, even when no one else does. Emotional confidence doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't prove, it simply is, and in that stillness lies undeniable power. When you know your worth, you stop offering discounts for approval. You stop compromising your time, your energy, your body, your voice just to be seen, chosen, or accepted. Discounting yourself looks like overgiving in relationships, settling for roles that dim your light, staying silent when your spirit is screaming to speak. It's negotiating your value down because you think someone else's comfort matters more than your truth. And every time you do it, you send a silent message to yourself, I am not enough as I am. But when you truly know your worth, something shifts. You stop chasing spaces where you must shrink to fit. You stop offering explanations to those who haven't earned the right to hear your process. You stop entertaining people who only love the version of you that serves them. Knowing your worth means you don't audition, you decide. You don't beg, you choose. And your choices become a reflection of your standard, not your struggle. Approval is addictive. When you've never known inner validation, you'll keep reaching for external praise like oxygen. If you haven't learned how to breathe with self-respect, that's why the work begins within. The moment you reclaim your worth, you stop accepting partial love, conditional loyalty, and inconsistent effort. You stop being grateful for crumbs because you remember you are the table. Your worth is not determined by how much someone wants you, needs you, or claps for you. It's determined by how you carry yourself when no one is watching. When you stand in your full value, you don't lower your price just because someone says it's too high. You hold firm, you wait, you walk. Because anything built on a discount will eventually demand a debt, and you weren't created to live in emotional debt. You were created to live in truth. You don't chase, you choose, and you choose with intention, not insecurity. There is a quiet strength in knowing that you are not for everyone and you were never meant to be. Chasing is rooted in fear. It's the belief that if you don't pursue, persuade, or prove, you'll be forgotten, overlooked, or left behind. But choosing is rooted in power. It's the ability to move from discernment, not desperation. When you chase, you surrender your standards to be seen. When you choose, you elevate your presence by being selective. Insecurity makes you believe that every opportunity, every person, every invitation is a lifeline, that if you don't grab it, you'll miss out. But intention allows you to pause, evaluate, and ask, does this align with who I am and where I'm going? When you live from a place of choosing rather than chasing, you step out of survival mode and into sovereignty. You stop asking, will they pick me, and start declaring, does this even deserve me? There's a reason why royalty doesn't chase the crowd. They don't run after what's popular. They don't abandon their position to be noticed. They stand. They wait, they discern, and when they move, they do so with full awareness of who they are. That's the posture of someone who chooses with emotional maturity. When you choose with intention, you guard your time, your relationships, your space. You don't give access out of fear of being alone. You give access out of confidence in your worth. The need to chase disappears when you trust that what is aligned with your purpose will recognize your value without being forced. You stop proving and start embodying. You become unavailable to anything that doesn't match the depth of your identity. Busyness is not value. Presence, precision, and purpose are. So many wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor, believing that being constantly in motion proves their importance, but motion without meaning is just noise. Busyness is often a distraction disguised as productivity. It fills time but empties the soul. You answer every call, accept every task, fill every hour, thinking it makes you valuable, but what it often reveals is a fear of stillness, a fear that if you slow down you'll have to face the deeper questions. Am I aligned? Am I fulfilled? Am I living with purpose or just performing for validation? Presence is power. When you are fully where you are, not scattered, not distracted, not doing 5 things halfway, you bring the weight of your being into the moment. And that alone changes the atmosphere. Precision is discipline. It's doing what matters most, not just what screams the loudest. It's choosing your commitments based on calling, not on guilt or people-pleasing. When you move with precision, you waste nothing. Not your time, your energy, or your essence. Purpose is the anchor. Without it, your busyness becomes bondage. You start saying yes to everything and wonder why you feel depleted, unnoticed, and fragmented. But when your actions are born from purpose, even the smallest task carries impact. You don't need to do more, you need to be aligned with why you're doing it. Busyness is easy, anyone can stay busy, but true value comes from clarity, from knowing what to walk away from mastering the art of enough. It's not how much you do, it's how intentionally you do it. It's not the quantity of your motion, but the quality of your presence that defines your worth. Be rooted, not restless, grounded, not grasping. In a world that constantly pulls you in 100 directions, emotional strength is found in stillness, not striving. Restlessness is not ambition, it's anxiety dressed in motion. It's the fear of being left behind, the fear that if you pause, you'll become irrelevant. But rooted people understand that growth doesn't require chaos, it requires depth. A tree doesn't move to prove it's alive, it stays planted, and from that rootedness comes fruit, shade, and strength. When you're restless, you chase without clarity. You say yes to things that drain you because you're afraid to miss out. You jump at opportunities that look good but don't feel right. You grasp at relationships, attention, validation, thinking that more will fill the ache of uncertainty. But the more you grasp, the more scattered you become, and nothing grows in scattered soil. Being grounded means you've done the inner work. You've faced your fears, your insecurities, your unhealed wounds, and you've chosen peace over panic. You no longer react to every demand. You respond from a place of truth. You don't follow trends, you follow purpose. Your confidence isn't loud, but unshakable. And when storms come, and they will, you don't break, you bend, you endure. Because your strength comes from being anchored, not active. You don't need to prove you're worthy by being everywhere, doing everything, pleasing everyone. You just need to be rooted in who you are. From there, your choices become intentional. Your yes means something, your no has backbone. You no longer seek attention, you command respect. Because the one who is grounded doesn't chase the wind. They become the one others come to for shelter, stability, and strength. Being available to everyone is often a trauma response, not a noble act. It feels like kindness, it looks like generosity, but many times it's survival. It's the child in you who learned that being needed was the safest way to be loved. It's the adult who fears rejection so deeply that they overextend, overgive, and override their own needs just to feel seen. You think saying yes makes you valuable, but when your yes is rooted in fear, it becomes a silent scream for worthiness. This kind of availability isn't connection, it's self-sacrifice masked as service. You become the fixer, the listener, the dependable one, the person who is always there, and yet you feel invisible, resentful, burnt out. You're so available to others that you become unavailable to yourself. You don't rest because rest feels selfish. You don't pause because stillness feels like failure. But here's the truth. Being everything for everyone is a dangerous replacement for being true to yourself. You were not created to be a solution for people's dysfunction. You were not designed to carry what others refuse to heal. If your presence is required for people to feel whole, it's not love, it's dependency. And if you need their validation to feel useful, that's not purpose, it's a wound. Healing begins when you realize you don't have to prove your goodness by being accessible. Boundaries are not rejection, they're protection. And real love doesn't punish you for having them. You're allowed to say no without guilt. You're allowed to rest without apology. You're allowed to exist without constantly explaining yourself. Your availability should be sacred, not assumed. Because when you heal the wound that says you must be needed to be loved, you start honoring the truth. You are worthy even when you're unavailable. Your silence, absence, or restraint can be more powerful than your presence. In a culture that idolizes visibility and constant expression, we forget the sacredness of quiet power. We've been conditioned to believe that speaking louder makes us heard, that being everywhere makes us relevant, that responding immediately proves our value. But sometimes the most powerful message you can send is no message at all. Silence does not mean weakness, it means mastery. It means you're no longer reacting from emotion, you're responding with wisdom. And sometimes wisdom chooses to say nothing. Absence isn't abandonment, it's clarity. When you remove yourself from spaces that drain you, when you step away from people who take you for granted, you teach them something your words never could. You are not to be accessed carelessly. You are not here for convenience. You are not anyone's emotional crutch. You are a whole person, not a background role in someone else's drama. Restraint is strength. It is the decision not to defend yourself to those who have already chosen to misunderstand you. It is choosing peace over performance, presence over proving. Not every situation deserves your energy. Not every battle is yours to fight. When you learn to hold your power instead of leaking it through over-explanation, overreaction, or over-involvement, you become unshakable. Your value doesn't rise when you speak more, it rises when you speak with purpose. It doesn't increase when you're constantly present. It increases when your presence is felt, not forced. Real power doesn't chase, it commands. Real confidence doesn't cling, it knows. There's a quiet, holy fire in the person who knows when to stay silent, when to step back, and when to let their absence do the talking. Because sometimes the most unforgettable presence is the one that chose not to be there. If you're always accessible, people stop valuing your presence. They begin to treat your time, your wisdom, your energy, and your love as something that is constantly available, like water from a faucet, not a gift with sacred meaning. When you train others to believe you're always there, you teach them to stop looking for your significance. They assume you'll answer, they expect you'll show up, they rely on your yes without honoring the cost behind it. And what's expected is rarely appreciated. True value is never found in something that is common. Diamonds are valuable because they are rare. Gold is treasured because it takes work to find. When you allow yourself to be endlessly accessible, you dilute the depth of your presence. You're not just a friend. You're not just a partner. You are a soul carrying light. You are a mind carrying wisdom. You are a spirit built with purpose, and you must protect that. People need to earn your availability, not assume it. This isn't about being cold, it's about being clear. Your presence is not just about showing up, it's about why you're showing up. It's about who has earned access to your energy, your insight, your heart. When you start being intentional about where you go, who you speak with, and what you give, your presence starts to carry weight. People listen more, they engage with respect, they notice the difference between you and the noise. Scarcity isn't manipulation, it's wisdom. Because what is sacred must be protected. And the truth is, if they can't feel the loss of your absence, they never truly valued your presence. You don't need to disappear to be respected. You just need to stop giving yourself away to those who haven't earned the right to receive you. You were not born to be everything to everyone. You were born to be deeply, powerfully, purposefully you. And when you stop being merely available and start being truly valuable, you shift the atmosphere. You stop performing and start embodying. You stop running and start rising. Let the world adjust to your standard, not the other way around. Your presence is a privilege, not a given. Your time is sacred, your energy is currency, and your voice carries authority. So carry yourself like someone who knows this. Protect your peace. Guard your greatness. Walk like your worth is not up for discussion because it isn't. You don't need to be louder to be heard, more available to be loved, or more agreeable to be respected. You just need to stand in your truth and let everything not aligned with it fall away. Because when you know who you are, you stop chasing attention and start commanding impact.